Sure, I'm Donncha Gilmore. I'm the writer director of Girls and Boys.
You got two amazing performances out of your leads, and I thought maybe we should start there.
Sure, no, I really appreciate that. The film started off like obviously as just a script, an idea I had for a very long time, and I've worked on it for years. I came up with the idea first when I was in college myself. So the film is set in Trinity College Dublin, where I went to, and I came up with the germ of the idea then. And when I started to seriously put the film together as my first feature, I knew that the performances were like the most important thing. I said it to my producer, who's my brother, my brother Garode. I said to him, I was like, if we don't find two actors that we think have the right chemistry, who can play these roles authentically, that can, hold the viewer's attention during these scenes where it's just two of them, then there is no movie. There's that saying in filmmaking, there's no there. You have to kind of create it. So I came to the conclusion of, if we don't find these actors, we just won't make the film. That was it. It was like, the film's only going to be a go once we've got these two actors and then we're certain that they can deliver this. So luckily enough for me, by the time I came to putting the film together and we were in pre-production, Leah Hannon, who plays Charlie, was just finishing up in Bow Street, which is one of the premier acting schools for film and TV here in Dublin. And a colleague of mine told me about her, had read the script for Girls and Boys and was working on the film, and said, well, there's someone you should look at that I think is, the right choice, at least a serious candidate for this role, because Ireland is a relatively small country. There aren't that many trans actors of the right age frame that I could use. I mean, there was a thought for a while we might have to go to the UK, which is a much bigger pool. But then, so I met Leah, and she did a screen test for me, 2 screen tests, and I thought she was just like perfect, and that I could also write the performance, or the character rather, to her strengths, because, when she came in and started like actually reading the lines aloud, I realized that she had her own kind of voice that was really fun. And Leah's a very funny person. She's really good at improv and stuff. So basically I cast Leah a full year before production. So what it meant was that Leah and I could workshop the script and talk about the characterization, certain scenes, backstory. She wrote a very long backstory for the Charlie character. And then, so once I had Leah in place, we knew we needed to do a series of chemistry reads, to find Jason. Now, it was funny. It was actually, I think it was a lot harder to find him, because I think I was just fortunate with the timing with Leah. It just really worked out. But to find the male lead ended up being almost a much longer search, because, I had to do these chemistry reads in person and film them and watch them back, because chemistry is a very ephemeral thing. It's not really something that you can really put, you can't describe it until you see it and you feel it. Like oftentimes in, mainstream blockbuster cinema, they cast 2 A-listers together because they have, power for the box office, but they may not actually have chemistry with each other. And then a lot of the reviews will say, well, these 2 didn't actually work together at all, but they're both big, names, marquee names. But we didn't have to do that because we're making an independent film. So it's one benefit of not looking for giant A-listers. We're looking more on the discovery side.
So you weren't getting studio notes as you were.
Right. Like, yeah, there's no one saying this person won't sell that territory, this actor. So it honestly I do think the casting for the film took about 8 months or something like that, where I know Adam, who plays Jason, I know that when he came in the room, where we came into the room and we did 2 scenes for the chemistry read, Leah said straight away that it felt different. She was very clear that this actor was working well for her in the scene. She really liked him, and it felt very different. And it felt different in the room and then on the camera as well, watching back, because that's important as well. You kind of feel both things. So yeah, it really is. It was a process of discovery, and just not being not being unflinching, basically just being like, I'm not going to accept anything less than like perfect. I need to have this. These two need to work together. Otherwise, there's no film. And that was what I kept thinking about. And so we're in the end. Then when we cast Adam and Leah were able to. We workshopped the scenes together for months before we shot the film in the actual location that we had set aside for the apartment set. So we were able to go and do all these scenes and record them and watch them back and discuss them and change some lines. And, you know, really like when you make an independent film, you're money poor, but time rich. So these actors were really excited for their first feature and wanted to put the time aside to do those kind of rehearsals and workshops, which you may not have if you are doing something in the more traditional route where people's schedules wouldn't allow for it, you know?
Girls and Boys, it seems to me, it does an incredible job of queering the rom-com tropes, in not just in a superficial way, but in a way that's very grounded in actual experience of trans people. And that's why I'm not at all surprised to hear you say that Leah had a hand in shaping some of that.
I remember, so I talked a lot about with collaborators early on, and also readers who gave me notes who worked on the film, like, you know, we talked about other films in this genre, right? And I remember like one thing we talked about was, you know, that like a film like Love, Simon, right? Which is like a studio picture about a gay teen that's very much trying to bridge a gap with a mainstream audience. So I understand why that film exists. Like it's doing something, it's, you know, however, I do think that film, Love, Simon in particular, is kind of a gay film for straight audiences. You know, yes. It's a film for them to really kind of be like, to try and understand, you know, gay teen issues. And so they cast someone who's, you know, heterosexual in real life and also very straight acting kind of person. And it's very sexless kind of thing. So what we talked about was making a queer film for straight and queer audiences together. Like, you know, a film that wasn't specifically for only queer audiences, although they are like kind of they are the primary demo, but a film that could kind of serve both. So, you know, I had a lot of readers on the script, and also a script editor who was queer. Like we talked about through these things. We were like, what about, you know, the film's called Girls and Boys, so you've got this side of things that is like the heterosexual male side of the Jason and the rugby team. It's very clear. And I knew that experience very, very well as well, having played sports all growing up. And then we had the other side of, you know, the girl side of like Charlie and her friend Alice, you know, who's buying all these other characters. So, you know, for me, it was like important to have both those voices served, you know. I worked a long time in sports video before I made my first feature. So I was in dressing rooms. I really know like how men talk in that environment. And so, but I was also like growing up, I was in theater, I was acting, so I had these kind of dual sides, my own like personality, but I brought in a lot more with queer voices in terms of the casting crew and reading stage. So we could discuss these other things for, you know, Charlie's character and Alice's, and bringing that side of things as well up. So, yeah, but we were thinking about other like rom-coms, you know, while we were working on it, especially the script. I mean, there's been some comparisons, you know, to Before Sunrise, the trilogy from Linklater, and, you know, totally makes sense because it's definitely in the DNA of the film. But like in regards to Girls and Boys, like, you know, the conversations they're having on their nighttime strolls, you know, they reflect Charlie's experiences growing up as a trans woman compared to, say, in Before Sunrise, where it's, you know, Julie Delpy's character and Ethan Hawke are very much I suppose, a conventional heterosexual couple, you know.
What a gift the Samuel Beckett bridge was to you in this film. It's gorgeous. And there are, 3 or 4 scenes where they're having a conversation with it in the background.
Yeah, the Samuel Beckett, you know, it's funny that since I've shot there, and I had that in mind for a long time, and I did test shoots there, since I shot the film there, I feel like they just haven't had as many animations that are up there that are that good. They've just decreased the amount. I don't know why. Maybe it's like an energy thing, but like I remember the month we shot, the animation that's playing on the bridge that's in the film, I really liked it so much. I just thought it was great. And I think we got in touch with the Dublin County Council just to make sure that it was still going to be there, like on the shoot day. And then it was. And then when we shot that scene, we were actually on a boat, which most people don't realize. So we were on a boat. That's a boat bar. And the idea was, so it's a pretty well-known boat bar. It's very fun in Dublin on the Quays. The idea was we were going to have this scene where they walk onto the boat and walk off. So you would know they're on a boat bar. But the management there was a mix-up. They got really annoyed at me. And we had to end the shoot early because what we had done was to get that shot of them framed by the bridge, there were all these windbreaker plexiglass barriers that are surrounding the whole boat for safety. And they were like, screwed on with bolts. And we had a carpenter take them down temporarily and hang them off the boat on a bungee cord. And so then the shot looked great, but you couldn't get that shot without that amount of work. And the owner just did not tell the manager that I'd agreed to do this with them. I paid them already. He hadn't told the manager we were doing this. They were just freaking out about it. So we said, we'll come back, we'll get those shots, because they were really mad at us at the end of them. We were having an argument, whatever. So then when we were in the edit, everyone was just, people who'd seen the rough cut were like, oh, they're on a boat? I didn't realize that. And so we just kind of like, well, if everyone thinks it's a bridge anyway, we'll just leave it so that it seems like it's a bridge. But that's why in that scene, Jason has glasses of wine. He's supposed to have like stolen them from the bar that's on the boat. That's what happened. But yeah, we just ended up not getting these shots of them walking on and off to this boat bar. But the bridge itself was the main centerpiece of that scene. And so we got what we wanted, from it.
Throughout the film, you go in and out of this film that Charlie's working on. And you get this sort of film within a film effect. And I wanted to ask you about what your thinking was on that.
There's footage in the film at a certain point. It's during the montage where after the Halloween night, and Jason is watching back this footage from a film they made when they were kids. And that's a real film that I made as a child called like the Clare Witch Project. That was not on Super 8, but it was on DV tape. And so I made these films with my friend, Philip, who's in the film, when we were in school. And I always just liked that idea. And then with Charlie and the Super 8, I think like most indie filmmakers, I always wanted to shoot on film, realized it was too expensive, but I'd looked at Super 8 and played around with it. And I really liked its texture, how idiosyncratic it was. And as a format, it's primarily a home movie format. That's what it started off as, and I think the most famous Super 8 film is the Zapruder film because it's a home movie camera, and what it does is it kind of conjures up a feeling of nostalgia because of how it was utilized in its history. So I liked the idea that, Charlie has this point of view that is the Super 8 camera, that is her point of view. And it's a scratchy, jumpy, grainier, take on life. And it kind of contrasted really well from the digital. So for me, it was like it's a hangover from their childhood where they were playing around with this camera that the father owned. And so she carried it through. But it also gave a unique perspective to her point of view, because one of the first times she sees Jason again at the Halloween party near the beginning, she films him through it, and we see him across the dance floor on this Super 8, and I really loved how it captures like lights and like it's so what it does sometimes as well with Super 8, it like if it's wound too tight in the cartridge, the film reel will skip. And it gives you these like white flashes and strange, like kind of smeared frames that I just really like. And they're all over the introduction montage that happens at the start of the film with the credit sequence, So yeah, I just thought I really loved what it worked for with her character. And also I thought that she used it as a crutch in a way to kind of like hide behind this camera. It's a bulky thing and it allows you to kind of slip off to the corner and you're like, oh, she's doing this thing with this complicated looking camera. She must be busy. Like it doesn't look like, a phone camera or something. It looks very legit when you have a big Super 8 camera. So yeah, there's loads of reasons for it. It's one of those things that when I came up with the idea, and I just so glad I included it because people often point it out.
Anything that I forgot to ask or that you wanted to be sure to talk about before we go?
No, just I want to say that I'm glad that you guys have chosen, especially for a virtual screening, because a lot of people reach out to me from all over, like say the East Coast, asking how they can see the film. A lot of queer and trans people have caught the trailer on Instagram or TikTok, and disappointed when it's like region blocked from them because we still haven't worked out a distribution deal. So I hope that a lot of people who would not have otherwise had a chance to see the film get to see it here, because I do think that the film is very universal to Irish audiences and American audiences, which was somewhat conscious decision on my part. Like I do feel even the way that Jason has got his Letterman jacket on for the Halloween costume, kind of playing the jock, which we don't really have over here. Rugby is a big thing, but people don't really wear Letterman jackets. There's a bunch of, I think it's a universal experience for film. Sorry, for the college experience. So I'm glad that more people are getting to see it in the States.